Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet Happy Kid lids. This is a fun and super easy little hat for kids, and it works up very quickly in bulky yarn, so it makes for a very fast project, but it's also extremely warm and will get you through those cold winter months. So for this project, you'll need a 9mm end crochet hook. You'll need a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. The larger the better, because this is very thick, bulky yarn, and you'll need that eye to be very large. And optional ruler or a measuring tape. And for the yarn, I used Lion Brand's Wool Ease Thick and Quick. If you want to substitute yarn, that's perfectly okay. Just look for a yarn that recommends a 9mm hook. And I wanted to mention as a side note, a lot of people on the Fiberflux blog and on the video ask about the hooks. Sometimes 9mm hooks are called M hooks. Sometimes they're called N hooks. Just make sure you're using a 9mm hook. So the particular yarn I used was Lion Brand's Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and they make these kind of gray, this line of gray yarn and mixed in with neon colors, and I thought that would be totally perfect for a kid's hat. But definitely feel free to use any color you like, especially if you want to make this for a child and have it match their coat or make it in their favorite color. So let's get started. This particular hat that I made, not including the pom-pom height, from the top of the actual hat, not including the pom-pom, to the bottom, measures about 7.5 inches. And around our hat, around the outside of our hat, measures, let's pull a little bit more, there we go, measures about 19 inches or so. Now I just wanted to mention that this hat is very stretchy and fits a wide variety of children's head sizes. However, if you need to change the size of this hat, just make your starting chain in an even number. We're going to be working from the bottom to the top. I wanted to just give you also a peek at the yarn label. This particular yarn has a yardage of 87 yards, and I used every single last bit of this yarn. I made the hat, and then any leftovers I had, I made this big fun pom-pom. So you will use every last bit of the skein of yarn. The color I'll be using today is called Flamingo. It has gray and some hot pink throughout. So we're going to begin, for the sizes that I mentioned earlier, we're going to begin with a starting chain of 30. Again, you can make your hat a little bit bigger or smaller, just make a chain of an even number. Okay, so let's put a slip knot on our hook. To make a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook, bring up a loop, and tighten. Okay, we're going to make a starting chain of 30. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Get some more yarn. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay, get a little more yarn. So our starting chain looks like this, and already those colors are starting to kind of peek in throughout. Okay, so next we're going to work a slip stitch in the chain farthest from the hook. So the chain all the way down here We're going to bring it together. That will form our hat. So insert the hook into the chain, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first loop, and bring it through the second loop. We now have the bottom of our hat, and this is pretty stretchy. So let's begin round 1. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the first chain we're going to work a double crochet. I just wanted to mention this tail here, I'm going to hold it along the edge as I work. That will weave in my tail as I go along, and it will save me from having to do it later. So we're going to work a double crochet in the first chain and every other chain all the way around. So again, I'm holding that tail. To make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the chain, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Okay, where we're going to work a double crochet in each chain all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll rejoin towards the end of this round. Here's what it looks like so far. So I'm just working a double crochet in that very last chain, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to close our round. Insert the hook into, this was our chain 3 at the beginning. So insert your hook into the top of that, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook to close the round. Okay, so the hat is starting to look like our other hat a little bit. So for round 2, we're going to just repeat what we did in the previous row to get the next round. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then in each stitch we're going to work a double crochet all the way around. Just like that. Okay, get some more yarn. This hat goes through the yarn very, very quickly. Again, we're using the full skein of this yarn. Okay, so just work a double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that. Work a double crochet in each stitch, and then we'll rejoin towards the end of this round as well. So I'm just coming up to the last stitch of round 2, and we're going to do the same thing as we did to close. Just join with a slip stitch. Okay, so round 2 is complete. To work round 3, I'm going to come back to our hat. Round 3 has a series of puff stitches. It's a little decorative round that I added to this hat. And puff stitches, if you've never made them, are very easy to make. Okay, so we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, I wanted to mention we've so far been working into the stitches. We're going to work these puff stitches into the spaces. So the first space we come to, right here, this is in between the posts, not the stitch. We're working in the space, okay? So what we're going to do to work the puff stitch is to wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the space, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 stitches on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the same space, bring up a loop. You'll have 5 stitches on your hook. 5 loops, excuse me. Wrap yarn around hook one last time, insert it into the space, bring up a loop. You'll have 7 loops on your hook. I like to kind of loosen things up a little bit because you'll be wrapping yarn around hook and bringing it through all of those loops on your hook. Might need to wiggle it a little bit. just like that. So that looks kind of like our hat a little bit. Okay, then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. You're going to skip the next space, and in the space after that, you're going to work another puff stitch. Yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 5 loops on our hook, yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 7 loops on our hook. I like to wiggle it, it helps a lot. Yarn around hook, bring it through all the loops on our hook to make the puff stitch. Then you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now we have 2 puff stitches on our hat. Let's get a little bit more yarn. We're going to skip the next space. In the space after that, let's work our next puff stitch. Bring up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, 5 loops on our hook, 7 loops on our hook. Loosen things up. Bring it through all the loops. Chain 2, 1, 2. Just like that. Okay, skip the next space. In the space after that, yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 3 loops on our hook. Yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 5 loops on our hook. Yarn around hook, bring up a loop, 7 loops on our hook. Yarn around hook, bring it through all the loops that are on your hook. Just like that. Now chain 2. Skip the next space. In the space after that, we'll just keep doing the same thing. 3 loops on our hook, 5 loops on our hook, 7 loops on our hook, and chain 2, 1, 2. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this all the way around our hat, and we'll rejoin towards the end of the round. So I'm just getting ready to work the very last puff. I just worked a puff, chain 2, skip the next space. In the space after that, I'm going to work the very last puff stitch. 3 loops, 5 loops, 7 loops, yarn around hook, bring it through all the loops, chain 2, and then we're going to join where we began with a slip stitch to close the round. Okay, so you can see our handiwork here. Okay, so it's starting to look like our other hat. So to work round 4, we're just going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And because we worked puff stitches all the way around in our last round, we're going to work this round by working a double crochet in the puff stitch, then one in the space, then one in the top of the puff stitch, then one in the space. Okay, so the first puff stitch we come across here, we'll have a little kind of hole at the top. That's our stitch. There should be a stitch at the top of each puff stitch. So we're just going to go ahead and work a double crochet into the top of that puff stitch, then a double crochet in the space, then a double crochet in the top of the puff stitch, then a double crochet in the space. So let's do that all the way around, and then we're going to rejoin towards the end of this round. So again, we're working a double crochet in each puff stitch, a double crochet in each space all the way around. So here's what we have so far. So let's keep doing that, and we're going to rejoin at the end of the round. So I'm just coming up to the end of our round. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. Okay, so our hat is shaping up very nicely. So let's move on to round 5. Okay, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Okay? So just a double crochet in each stitch. All right, I'm going to continue working my double crochets and we'll rejoin when we get towards the end of this round as well. So we're just coming up to the end of this round. And I'm just going to join with a slip stitch, same way we've been doing to close the round. Okay, so that round is complete. To finish up your hat, you're going to repeat the round we just did 3 more times to finish off your hat. As you can see, our hat is already growing and we're more than halfway there. Okay, so we're just going to keep repeating this round. We're going to do this 3 more times. So let me show you just how to get started. Chain 3, same thing we did for the previous round, and just work a double crochet in each stitch all the way around. Okay, so do that 3 more times, and I'm going to go ahead and do that step, and then we're going to rejoin when we're almost to the end of the very last round of our hat. And I'm going to show you how to close up the top and how to make this really awesome pom-pom at the top as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep on doing my rounds and we'll rejoin when we're finished that part. So I'm just finishing up the very last round of our hat. And I'm just going to join with a slip stitch to close up the round. Okay? So before we move any farther along in our project, I just wanted to show you right now, our hat just looks like a big tube. Okay? Doesn't look like our finished hat yet. So we're going to next close up the top of our hat, and I'll show you how to do that. And then finally, we'll add this pom-pom. Okay? So what you want to do is you're going to use your yarn tail to actually seam up the top of it. So I want you to, with your scissors, leave yourself a nice long strand. I would say 12 to 18 inches. Okay? That way you don't have to use a separate piece of yarn. You can just use this tail to seam it. Okay? So go ahead and fasten off. So you have a nice tail now that you can sew your hat. Next, turn your hat inside out, like that. And then you're going to, we can move our yarn out of the way for a moment. And we're finished with our hook. We can put our hook aside. So next we're going to thread our tapestry needle. Just like that. And then at the top of our hat, we're going to do a whip stitch. Okay, so go into both layers, and you can leave about 1/2 inch to 1 inch apart. It doesn't have to be a very tight whip stitch. Okay, actually you don't want it to be too tight because it'll kind of cinch funny. And you don't want it to be too open either, because then you'll have big giant holes in the top of your hat. So just like 1/2 inch to 1 inch. I'm just eyeballing it, no need to measure. Just like that till you get to the end. Then you can just come in to your loop, tie it off. Don't cut it yet. Then you're just going to, let's come back out here. Then you're just going to take your tail and push. See how it made the top of it gather? Push, 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 just like that. Then you can go ahead and tie a knot. That will hold everything in place. just like that, okay? And you can come back in and just kind of reinforce your knot with another knot if you like. I like to make lots of knots, but that's just me, okay? Then you can just take your tail while it's still on the tapestry needle. Go ahead and just weave everything in, okay? Trim that off, and then you can turn your hat right side out. And now it actually looks like a hat. Now obviously the pom-pom is optional. I'm going to show you how to do a pom-pom, but it looks like a hat now. So we've cinched up the top. So we have just enough yarn now to do our pom-pom. So let's go ahead and do that next. And as you can see, it looks just like our other hat. So let's move on to the pom-pom. And you can save, if you have some tail left, you can save. I have about 12 inches or so left. I'm going to save this for my pom-pom. So let's move on to that step next. Okay, so we have just enough yarn left to make a nice pom-pom. And I have about a 12-inch strand of yarn here that you can use to tie your pom-pom together. If you don't have this left over from your hat, just cut one at this point before you begin. Okay, so to make our pom-pom, I like to make mine with my hand, nothing fancy. And what you'll do is just with your hand and let a little bit hang down, just wrap the yarn around all 4 fingers. Just do that until you use all the yarn. Now if you want your pom-pom to be a little smaller than the one I showed, you can wrap the yarn around just 2 fingers or 3 fingers. It's up to you. I wanted a super big, fun pom-pom, so I'm just doing it around all 4 fingers. So you can see my bundle of yarn is getting pretty big. So I'm just wrapping it around and around and around. See, I'm almost out of yarn. So just keep going around, and you're going to let that tail hang down as well. Okay? So then just carefully slide this off of your hands, and you'll have this big, thick bundle. So just take your tail, your yarn tail that you've already cut, and you're going to tie this as tight as you possibly can tie it. Make it nice and secure. Just like that, okay? So now it looks just like a little bundle, and you're going to take some scissors. You want some scissors that are fairly sharp. You're just going to start giving your pom-pom a haircut. You're going to cut all the loops that you come across. Just like that. Now this can be a slightly messy operation. So usually when I'm not doing this on video, I do this over a trash can. But it's totally up to you. And so when you're done, just check for any more loops that you may come across. And it's all uneven and kind of wild looking right now. So just go ahead and give it a little haircut. And you can make this as perfect or imperfect as you like. I like to just try and get all the strands nice and even. Just keep snipping away until everything is pretty uniform. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just keep trimming until my pom-pom is nice and uniform and not so wild looking. So I gave my pom-pom a haircut. It's looking pretty good. And I also wanted to mention, you want to leave these tails because you need them to tie these onto your hat. Okay, so let's grab our hat. And this hat is chunky enough so you can just kind of poke your finger through and pull the strand through. On hats that are finer, you need a tapestry needle for that. We can just kind of poke our finger through and attach it that way, okay? So I'm just putting each tail into the top of our hat here, and you can reposition as needed. I think I'm going to make mine's a little off center. Okay, so our pom-pom is on. Now turn it inside out. And you're just going to tie this. So just tie a few knots. I like to tie, because this is a kid's hat, I like to put lots of knots to keep that pom-pom on there nice and secure. So when you're finished, you can just weave these two little tails in, and then your hat is complete. So we have a pink version here, and we have our blue version. And also I wanted to mention all these little clippings when you made your pom-pom, save those for the spring when the birds are building their nests, and they can use these little pieces to build their nests, or you can also use them to stuff toys or pillows or other little things that you're crocheting as well. So our hats are complete. So that is how you crochet the Happy Kid lids. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again!